Hello, world. This is Janita Lawal with Lawal Travel Services here with you again for another episode of the Lawal Around the World podcast. Today, I am excited to introduce you to a new friend of mine, Shaylene Todd. She's going to be talking with us about Saint Lucia. So, if you don't know about Saint Lucia, this episode is all about getting to know Saint Lucia. So, welcome, Shaylene.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Same. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. You've already made me like super excited about going to St. Lucia, as if I wasn't already. But now I'm like super duper excited. And I'm so ready for everyone to get to know your story and get to know what you love about St. Lucia. So before we dive in, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
For sure, yeah. So I've been very fortunate in my life. I was born in Ottawa, Canada. I don't know how much you know about Ottawa, Canada, but it is typically covered in an enormous amount of snow. Known for the world's longest outdoor skating rink, which, sounds great, but I knew from a very young age that I was just born in the wrong place. Something had gone horribly wrong. And so after university, I got a job working in Texas, and one thing led to another, and I ended up taking my very first vacation in Belize. Absolutely madly fell in love with Belize. And that kind of started my Caribbean adventure, which is now coming close to 15 years long. Yeah. And so, when I was in Belize, my very first job was working on a catamaran as a first mate and chef. I had no business doing either of those things, but for the record. But, one thing led to another, as it does in life. And I ended up working for resorts. And now, and most recently, I specialize in the pre-development of resorts, especially resort communities. So resorts that have a residential component where people often buy a home and then put it back in the rental program that the resort then uses as their rental inventory. And that's how I got to St. Lucia.
Nice. Oh my gosh. My first job was, flipping burgers.
Oh yeah, no, I was a Subway sandwich artist first. Like, don't get the wrong idea. It didn't start at the top. Yeah.
I'm a sandwich artist. I like that.
Yeah. It's all about the brand.
Well, that is an awesome story. I didn't know you worked on a catamaran. That had to be pretty cool.
It was, at the beginning it was hard because, of course, I was from Canada. I hadn't done a ton of Caribbean travel. And so I had never been on a boat. I should probably admit as well. I can admit that now. But so my very first group, like charter that went out, I remember we pulled up to this idyllic island. When you're like a kid in kindergarten and you draw like a perfect, like deserted island, this is what this island looks like. Okay. And I'm just like, wow. And everybody starts putting on their snorkel gear and goes to jump in the water. And I have to stay behind on the boat and cook the meal. And I was just like, I was crying. I was just devastated. I was like, I want to go jump in the water, So, but I've been in the water a lot since. It was worth it.
Yeah, that's like torture, man. That's like,
it was.
Like show you off. You can't eat any of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's paradise. You can't touch it.
And I love what you said about Ottawa and the cold, because like the only thing I know about it is it's cold.
Oh yeah.
You sound like me. So I was born in Chicago, but when I was like a teenager, I realized when I was walking through a blizzard, I don't like the I don't like the cold.
I mean, there's a time and a place for it. I après ski like nobody's business. Okay, put me in front of a fireplace with a glass of wine, and it's like I was made for winter. But so especially holidays and stuff, it sounds really glam. But living in it day to day, there's just no comparison to me. When you live in the sunshine, and my view is pretty much always just pure blue, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah, same here. Give me sandy snow. I mean, snowy sand. You know what I mean? Well, cool. Well, thank you for that. So before we get into some of the questions that you and I talked about, I love asking some icebreaker questions just to get to know you as a traveler. So I think I know the answer to this first one. Which best describes your travel style, backpacker or luxe life?
Oh, you see, I'm an evolution, I would say, because I like earned my stripes to get to this luxury traveler that I am now. I backpacked hard. Actually, I just celebrated my 40th birthday last weekend. My husband surprised me with a trip to Martinique, which was my 40th country. For a very long time, my goal was 40 by 40, and so I just nailed it. And I would say probably 30 of those 40 countries were done with a very big backpack on my back, and mostly solo. Met a lot of friends along the way. Sometimes they would come and meet me, but I did a lot of hostels and a lot of Airbnbs as I got a little bit older and had a little more money. And most recently, I think because I work in luxury resorts, I've been spoiled rotten. So,
You know what? I was more of a budget traveler in the beginning, like when I first started discovering traveling, but then I was an asset manager for a portfolio of hotels and traveled a lot for business and doing hotel inspections and then becoming a travel advisor. So my way of travel has changed.
oh yeah. And don't you feel you're spoiled now? Like honestly, I like because of all the beautiful places I've gotten to experience. Now I'm like I'm just ruined. I think like
I don't feel like Airbnb anymore because I'm like, I have to work. I like
right.
having room service, and there was
Yeah.
actually an article I reviewed that's like some places are getting rid of room service, not room service, but housekeeping. I'm like, what? Because I don't make
That's why
my
we go to hotels. So in Martinique, where we were this past weekend, my husband arranged for a chef to deliver a floating breakfast in the pool to our Airbnb. And so, I would say that's my style. Like the Airbnb was very hammock, but there was a hot tub, a pool, and, a private chef.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Private rentals, like in Airbnb, they used to have a Lux site, so
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
more Lux and like corporate
yeah.
rentals, and that's kind of where I am now in life, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like you say, I'm a huge fan of hotels. Like for me, room service is like if you give me a robe that isn't mine, I don't know why, but there's something about like a big white robe that isn't mine. If I get to put that on and I get breakfast in bed, I am just like, well, I could die tomorrow. My life is made.
A funny story, and I'll move on. But we were in Paris in May, and the Hotel Edouard 7, I love them. Well, they had the robes and the slippers. Well, I'm bigger than the average bear, and my feet are too. But I'm like, I do not care. So my friend snapped a picture of me in this robe, and it's like tied, but like 2 inches too small, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
my feet are in these slippers, and the slippers like, help us. And I'm like, I'm
I'm
wearing.
doing it. I'm the same. I'm incredibly tall. And, sometimes they give you those robes that are like maybe meant to go to your knees, but like just like, yeah. Anyway, we can move on.
Well, good to know. Good to know. And you told us a little bit about what brought you to St. Lucia, but can you give us a little bit more information about what you do there in St. Lucia?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm one of the unique things about St. Lucia is how different the north and the south are. And I'm in the far north, so in an area called Kappa State. And I'm working for a company called Cabot. They're originally a Canadian company. They're a golf company. They create magical golf courses, and now all over the world, they're just taking the brand global. Kind of right as I was coming on board, St. Lucia is their first international destination, and they're building a world-class golf course here. So, I mean, if there are any golfers in your audience, just know that in the next year, there's going to be probably one of the top 10. That's what we're hoping for in the world. And there's like 40,000 golf courses. So I'm getting a really quick deep dive into golf because I was not a golfer. It's kind of like the boats. I'm like, yeah, I golf. I'll learn real quick. But no, in all seriousness, working for this amazing company, they just have really great values, really great brand, and like I say, are going global. So it seems like a really great fit for me because I look forward to future opportunities. But primarily in St. Lucia right now, I'm helping them kind of develop the resort out and the rental program and find the community of people that will be members there.
That's awesome. That sounds awesome. And I play golf. I say that like with a little asterisk, right?
You said it with a question mark, actually,
Yeah,
technically. You're like, I play golf.
I have these great moments that keep me playing. Like it's not always dismal, so I have these moments that give me hope that maybe I have
Yes.
skill somewhere in here, right? But absolutely love golf courses. I bet that's beautiful and has to be great to like go to work every day.
It does. I mean, I'm actually really fortunate. You've seen my house, like the view from my house. My house is on one side of the golf course, kind of overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. So it's just kind of like beautiful sea of blue in front of me. But then when I leave my house, the golf course is right on the other side. So I actually cut through the golf course to get to the office every day. And the northern side of Saint Lucia is just, it's cliffs and kind of wild ocean, that crashes against the cliffs. It's just stunning. And there's always a really great breeze. So I love the walk. I feel really blessed. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So tell me, so then I know the North and the South have different feels, but when it comes to like water activities, is there one side that's better than the other? Like I know snorkeling, I think TK Resort is more to the north, and I hear snorkeling is better over there, snorkeling and some scuba diving. Do you know about the
Yeah,
water?
there's good snorkel spots kind of all the way along, I would say north to south. There's some really great snorkeling in the south by like the Sugar Beach area. There's
Oh,
some
yeah.
really great spots in the north, like at Cap Maison Naked Fisherman, which is a public beach. It's a beautiful resort, but you're allowed to go use the beach. Great snorkeling right off the beach there. So I would say actually as far as water, because St. Lucia is really big on water sports actually. One of the ones it's known for is kite surfing, and that's really popular in the north. And then you have all like the wakeboarding and stuff like that as well, which is kind of taking off. You do have some sea-doos, and that kind of happens all across kayaking, paddleboarding. It's a little bit different. You have the Atlantic on one side and the Caribbean on the other. And I would say actually that's more where the difference is that like where I'm located in the north, I mean, there's areas you just wouldn't swim. It's big waves crashing against cliffs. It's heavy winds. But it makes for gorgeous golf, obviously. And then just in the protected bays there, they're ideal for kite surfing because of the heavy winds, or windsurfing and that kind of stuff.
That
And
makes
of course,
perfect
fishing.
sense.
Fishing is huge here as a water sport.
St. Lucia, it sounds like it's, well, we'll get to this question, but what I'm hearing is that it's great for different types of travelers, like adventurers. So if you want to take a fishing trip, you can do that. If you're all about snorkeling and scuba diving, you can do that. If you're into surfing, be it kite surfing or body surfing, you can do that. And if you're just into sitting on the beach, you can do
Yeah.
that.
I'm like, you can do all of those things. Or if you just like sitting on the beach. I actually like to do what I call bobbing. It's my favorite activity, which is, when you walk into the sea about waist level and then you sit on your knees and you hold your drink and you just hang out there with your friends all day. That's my jam. And
Yeah.
yes, but you're absolutely right. There's tons to do here. It's one of my favorite things about St. Lucia is the word that comes to mind is options. There are lots of options when we're talking about just about anything. Whether it's good restaurants, water sports, activities, there's just a wide variety of things to choose from, which is not always the case in remote places.
Right. And I'll say that's what's attracting it to me, like as a travel professional, because there are some destinations like Aruba, for example, where a lot of my clients, they like the all-inclusive resorts, they like adults-only resorts, and that's limited there, right? But in St. Lucia, there's something for everyone. Like there are some adults-only properties, there's some full-on all-inclusive resorts, but then there's also those more exclusive, bespoke resorts, smaller resorts, bigger ones. Like there's a chocolate resort, Rabot, I think it's called, that I really want. I cannot find a spot. I want to go there. But you can find the small, you can find the large, you can find the romantic, you can find the active. Like there's so much.
And you've got jungle, rainforest, and beach, which is something I'd always encourage people to do is get a little bit of variety. I mean, you talk north and south, Caribbean and Atlantic, and then jungle and beach. That's a lot of dichotomy. And, there's a lot of offerings in there. So you can get a bit of both, like do 3 rainy days in the jungle and then go chill on the beach or vice versa,
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of the people I've talked to, like from the tourism board and whatnot, have recommended a split stay where
Yeah.
you stay in one area for maybe 3 nights, stay in another area 3 nights to really get a sense of all that it has to offer.
That's what I always recommend. Like a big part of my job is people coming down and prospecting, right? They're considering buying a home at our resort, which will eventually be part of the villa rental program. And so, they come down, I help curate their itinerary. And my recommendation is always do at least 3 nights in the north and 3 nights in the south. If your stay is longer, split it up differently. But it's just so worthwhile. You get to see the whole country, and it's great to get around, and you can take a boat from one to the other. So it's still an adventure, and fun, even in your transportation. You can take the helicopter, which is a great tour.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I know there's 2 airports in St. Lucia, right?
Right. Yeah.
UVF, which I don't know the actual name. I know airport codes. I'm so
Yeah, no, I'm the same actually. But that's down in Viewfort in the south is the international airport. That's where the majority of flights fly in. And one of the best things about St. Lucia, in my opinion, is the airlift. You've got really great airlift from a lot of major hubs. So whether it's a direct flight out of Miami, Boston, Chicago, Atlanta, Toronto, you have all of that. But then you may only just be one small flight away from one of those places. And then you're flying right into St. Lucia International, which is quite unique as well for a Caribbean island. Not all of them are created equal in that way. So you would fly into the south. In the north of the island is George Charles Airport with the airport code SLU. That is more for what I would call inter-Caribbean travel. So if you're going, say you want to go to Martinique for the weekend, which you totally can from here, from St. Lucia. I look out at Martinique every day. It's literally a 9-minute plane ride away, and you would catch that plane from the north. Also, if you're flying in private, you would typically land in the north.
Gotcha. It sounds fabulous. And I saw somewhere that there is also a water taxi, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm about to try that for the first time. I've got my ticket booked on the 29th. I'm so excited. But yeah, you can get on a water taxi. They treat it like a tour, basically. It's all inclusive, so you get champagne the whole time you travel, or rum punch. And I'm champagne. I don't know if you caught that. I got 2 hands though. And they do the whole VIP clearance at the airport and everything for you as a part of that transfer. So, I mean, what a great way to see you can catch it up in the north at Rodney Bay, take it all the way down to the southern airport in under 2 hours, drinking and learning as you go, and then have fast track yourself through the airport. So I'm really excited to give it a try.
You're so ambitious, drinking and learning. I
don't get on a plane unless I've had a few glasses of champagne. That is the point of travel. The other day when we were going to Martinique, our flight was delayed by quite a bit. And it's one of the greatest airports in the world. It's literally, we were drinking rum punch on the beach while our plane was delayed.
Nice.
It's just it just doesn't get better. I was like, I don't care if it comes. I'm having a great time.
Okay, so note to self, I think I'll take a day trip to Martinique when I make it to St. Lucia.
Definitely. And they have a boat too that goes 45 minutes on boat.
Nice. That's
yeah,
nice.
So it's a great day
in
trip.
my mind, I'm there already. You're making me excited. I'm there already. So we're talking about drinks, which leads me to think about food.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the food scene there in St. Lucia?
Yeah, well, when I said one of my favorite things about St. Lucia is the options, I was actually talking about food. You can literally, I've had the best East Indian meal that I've ever had here in St. Lucia, which is crazy because I come from Canada, which has great Indian food. But yeah, they just have such a variety of ethnic cuisines from all over the world. And then obviously the local cuisine, that's my favorite thing about travel is trying what's local to there. And St. Lucia is such a beautiful place. It's incredibly rich in culture. It oozes out of the people and it oozes out of the food, and you just it's a really great way to experience the culture is to try their food. And so my recommendation would definitely be have a totally local breakfast. They do it really different. They've got the salt fish. They do what they call bakes, which are their version of fried dough. I say everywhere in the world has their own version of fried dough. Bakes are the ones here, and you kind of rip them apart. You can put stuff in them or dip them in guava jelly or something like that. they'll do fish fingers, banana bread, because this is banana capital. Like, it's all about the bananas in St. Lucia. So the banana bread is on point. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, you want to have your cocoa tea. It's a big on, cacao grows here in the rainforest. So they have cocoa tea, which is like our hot chocolate, but it's with different spices. And so I think like definitely try a totally Lucian breakfast. They're awesome. Yeah.
Look,
and then of course fish fries, very Caribbean. You got to have the seafood. So you got to go to a fish fry, and Friday Night Street Party has lots of great like local vendors that'll sell you fish and different local things like that. Ceviche is a really great appetizer here with plantain chips, maybe breadfruit chips. Awesome.
Nice. That actually makes me think about Jamaica, because one of my favorite breakfasts ever is ackee and saltfish.
Oh yeah, very similar.
Bread festival, I think they call it. So so I think I'd like St. Lucian breakfast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they have akra here, which is like basically a fish cake. It's like it's like a fritter. A fish fritter, and they are so good. Like, you have to have them. Yeah, the food here is really good. And a lot of places, there's when you talk about luxury and stuff, there's a lot of great restaurants that are doing fusion, so it's food you recognize. It's a great steakhouse like Big Chef or something, which has really exceptional food that would be like world class, but they've fused it with the Lucian food. So you've got elements of the local, fruits and veg and cuisine that are unique.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's one of those destinations where you really, if you don't have an all-inclusive, you could still have a really great trip because you can explore the food.
I always say there's a difference between vacation and travel. And, to me, when I go to an all-inclusive, which I can love an all-inclusive, it's all about the relaxation. It's much more about the books that I'm bringing, where I want to be in my mental headspace, my tan that I'm going to get. And so, it's just a no thinking, really enjoyable family time, whatever it is. There's a whole other different type of travel that is really quite easy here in St. Lucia, which is you go to a hotel or maybe a private villa or something like that, and then you're curating your experience for yourself, which is all the different restaurants, and you can do that very easily here. There's tons of options, and it's a real experience and an adventure, and you can dive into the culture a little more when you do that, so it's just really what you're looking for, whether it's that travel experience or the relaxing vacation, but definitely has both.
Yeah, and I'm one of those. So my personal choice, I love the European plans or bed and breakfast. So the hotel includes the breakfast at the hotel, because I don't like thinking about breakfast. I don't like really having to go anywhere if I don't have to early. But leaving lunch and dinner to explore all around. So
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, one of my favorite things in life, I think I've mentioned this already, is the breakfast in bed. Like, to me, it's like, I love it. And yeah, I pick hotels based on, do they include breakfast and will they bring it to my room?
Well, my make or break is honestly in-room coffee. If there's not in-room coffee, I have a problem. Like,
I'm gonna need you to top that up every day. Like, don't be like, oh, I put 5 in the room, you'll be fine for the week. I'm like, I'm gonna need more.
Exactly. Some little packets. Like, no, give me more. No. I either need the in-room coffee or really easy, like, have my coffee come to me in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
no, I feel you. Yeah.
Must have. So speaking of must-haves, let's talk about some must-dos. What are, and let's say, so I know you could go on and on, but in your, I think, 8 months there in St. Lucia, right?
Yep.
What are your 3 favorite things you've already done? Like, what are the 3 favorites?
Well, me being me, the minute I got here, I was like, I have to try absolutely everything so that I know what I can offer people. So, so that's going to be a tough one. If you do take time in the South, I would say first and foremost, you should hike a piton. There's 2 pitons here. They are the large mountains. The local beer is called Piton. And, people will tell you that it's a really nice hike, and they're lying. It is hard. It's hard. It's like doing a Stairmaster for 2 hours up and then 2 hours down. It's about a 4-hour round trip. But, the reward is the view at the top. Absolutely extraordinary. The sense of accomplishment And, you go to a country and it's like, this is their point of pride. This is their pièce de résistance in the country, is these pitons. They're absolutely stunning. And so I would really encourage people to hike that, grow piton if they're up to it and that's what they enjoy. I think if you're going to go north to south at all, taking the helicopter is a must do, because it's a transfer, but it's a great way to see the country, because it's the topography here is incredibly hilly, incredibly mountainous, and very jungly. And so there are parts literally where when you're flying over, you will believe that you will see a dinosaur walking through the bush. It just looks like totally different terrain than we're used to. And it's definitely worth seeing from the sky, in my opinion. And then I'm trying to think, what's the other? Oh, you know what I love doing here and what's really unique is people still ride horses regularly. Like on the road, you will see people riding horses instead of being in a car, and you can do that. And so one of my lifelong bucket list things was to go in the ocean with a horse. I've never done that before. I've got to go trail riding and stuff. But so here up on Kazumba Beach, they pick you up on horse, and you literally go along the roads, like with the cars and stuff, on horseback. And then you go down to the local beach and you go into the water neck deep with your horse. Such a unique experience, bareback. It's really incredible. And I would say anybody who has an affinity for horseback riding or has a bucket list like mine, then you definitely want to do that.
Nice. What I love about all of those is that they seem to be unique to St. Lucia. I get clients who they've done the catamaran thing, they've done the parasailing, they've done all that, but those three things seem very unique to St. Lucia.
It's very astute, because I've been very fortunate. I've got to go all throughout the Caribbean. I love the Caribbean, but like I said, I get a little spoiled where I get to an island and I'm like, what are we going to do? We've done it all, and but there is a lot to do here. Oh, you know what? I want to pick one more. And this isn't super unique to St. Lucia, but I definitely recommend it, is the sunset cruise, the catamaran sunset cruise. If you're not getting out on a boat in another way, definitely do a sunset cruise, because they're great. They're a great way to meet other travelers. They're tons of fun. They steel pans turn into a party, again, with the champagne and the rum punch. It's great.
Nice, nice. And I wonder, so I have to look and see if there are any. Would sunset, would that be near the pitons? Would you be able to?
You can do them in the north or the south. There's companies that do them both places. In the north, I use a company called Sea Spray that are absolutely fantastic. Like I say, the very first time I was super grumpy, okay? My poor husband, he plans this trip, like this date night for us. And we get to the boat and I'm like spoiled rotten. I'm like, I always take private boats. Why am I going on a boat with like 80 other travelers? And then I get on the boat and I'm kind of like, and within, I would say 15 minutes, I was having an okay time. Within 40 minutes, I was like dancing to Pharrell, everybody was having a ball. It just turned into a party. And I've done them like 8 times now. Anytime someone comes to visit, so I'm like, we're going on the sunset cruise.
That's funny. I travel a lot solo, but I will say I love joining tours and things like that, because it does get me, even though I'm solo and I'm okay being solo, it's nice to interact with other people and
totally.
Meet a friend. But yeah, it's a fun way to meet other people for sure.
Yeah, and especially like you go on a vacation, you don't always get the opportunity to like dance or and so to have a shared experience and to have like a fun, good time that's safe and like that, I really enjoyed that much more than I thought I would the first time, and I'll definitely change my perspective on doing group tours for sure.
I'm sure the rum punch helped to like.
Oh no, definitely. I was all champagne, but yeah, definitely helped.
I'll tell you, so real quick, when you were talking about hiking the pitons and the beer's piton, in my mind I had this vision of myself hiking and drinking, right? Hiking a piton, drinking a piton. But then you mentioned it's like, I was like, oh yeah, no.
No. But what you do have to do after you hike the pitons is go to Sugar Beach for rosé afterwards. That's what got me through the whole time. I was like, I'm going to Sugar Beach. I'm going to have a glass of rosé when this is done. Yeah. Either that, or you could stand on top of one of the beers and say you've been on top of a piton. It's up to you.
I like that even better, and then still get my rosé afterwards. I like that.
Exactly.
So, speaking of options in North and South, in my research, I found that there's actually 2 of the street parties. Now, do they call them fish fries there, or are they those 2 distinct different things?
So my understanding, fish fry typically leads into street party. So, like if you're going to, so we have the Friday night street party up here in the north in Gros Islet, which I highly recommend people go to. It is, what I love about this is what I love about St. Lucia. The people are so friendly, which is not always the case in the Caribbean. They're very, very authentic. They're very, very proud to be here and to be from here, and they're proud to share it. And so you go to street party, and it is truly a place where the locals actually go and party, and the tourists actually go and party, and they do it together. And it's an authentic, genuine experience that I would recommend to anybody. And then, you get drunk and you eat fish fry.
So that's one in the north. Have you been to the one in the south? Is that the
I
new?
haven't yet. No, I haven't. Yeah. I've done the street party in the north a lot, and watch out for the rum punch. But that's not a joke. That is like, have one and see how you feel, because it's stronger than home.
Okay, and that right there is my another reason why I like a private driver. So I can have as much rum punch, almost as much rum punch as I want, which leads to the next thing. So I know from my experience in Barbados, driving on the left side, I won't say the wrong side, but the left side of the road, I sideswiped a wall within the first 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't even tell what's over there. It's so
exactly. Like, where'd that wall come from?
How far am I away from that? It is impossible to tell from this side of the car. I totally get it.
So is it easy to find private drivers or like taxis? Tell us about the transportation situation.
Yeah, it's a great question. So my recommendation, if you did not enjoy driving in Barbados, you will not enjoy driving in St. Lucia, because as much as I love St. Lucia, and I've been to Barbados and it's beautiful and they have beautiful roads, and this is why I'm saying that the roads are a million times better in Barbados than they are in St. Lucia.
Okay.
Just the condition of the roads. And so not only are you driving on the opposite side of the road and the opposite side of the car, but you are also dodging potholes for your life. And so having experience really helps. In my opinion, definitely get a driver. It's just going to take all that stress away. Like I said earlier too, it's very hilly topography. So when you look on a map and you see, oh, it's only like 3 miles away, it can actually be like a really long drive. So I would say, come the first time, be driven around. And if you decide that you're up to it, like my husband can do it in a heartbeat. He was like, no problem, I've got this. And he did. I am not that person. So it just, you gotta know yourself. Yeah. But there's tons of great taxi companies. There's taxi stands around, like anybody can arrange. There's no Uber or anything like that. So I talk about it like it's the first world. It is not. They're not on demand, but they are easy to find. They're identifiable by their license plate, and they don't have meters like at home. They'll work out a price with you when you get in the car. We operate on the Eastern Caribbean dollar, and they're affordable.
Okay, good to know. So other services, because I do have clients who sometimes they rent private homes instead of doing hotels and resorts. And some of the services that they want are places that may include like a butler or a chef. Are there places like that there, or is it easy to find those services there?
It's both of those things. You can either kind of a la carte it with chefs that are available in the area. I do that all the time with a chef from a local restaurant called Barnacles. The guy who owns it is Didier. He's amazing. He's from France, and he'll just arrange everything, and he'll go chef at any villa basically, that's being rented out. He's excellent. If you rent a villa like one up here called Exhale, it comes with a private chef, and you can kind of choose, do you want the chef or not? But if you do, they'll have the chef there the whole week, and that's very standard. There's lots of beautiful big villas to rent, and all of them kind of have that a la carte. What do you need? Even live music to your villa is a nice touch, for if it's a group and a party. And yeah, so I would definitely recommend drivers, and I would definitely recommend private chef at least once.
Right. Sounds awesome. This has only like increased my excitement about getting out to St. Lucia. We're starting to wrap up here, but I want to ask one more question here. Let's see. Oh, well, we kind of talked about this. What kind of traveler do you think would appreciate St. Lucia? I think anyone could find something to love about St. Lucia.
I agree. I think, when you told me you were going to ask that question, what immediately came to mind was the luxury adventurer. Like if you are an adventurous person, but also has an affinity for nicer things, this is it. Like it's not like out of a can, you know, you're gonna experience culture and a new place, and so which is the adventure piece, and you can do it in a really nice, safe way, where things are taken care of for you, which is the luxury part. I mean, you can definitely come here as a backpacker. It's very affordable. The inter-island travel is easy. You know, you could, you know, definitely the adventure piece for sure, I would say, at whatever level.
I love that luxury adventure. That's like a whole nother category.
Did we just invent a genre?
We need to get like a trademark after that or something.
Right, exactly.
So as we end it here, I want you to think about your time there in St. Lucia and of the other places that you've been. What about St. Lucia, right? I guess, what do you love most about St. Lucia and about your time there so far?
You know, that's a really good question. Like what immediately comes to mind is the people, but even more than that is the women. The Caribbean women here are phenomenal. St. Lucia is actually one of the only islands in the world named after a woman, I believe. Some kind of weird fact like that, but there is a real, it's a real women-centric place. And like I work with all Caribbean women, and you know, when I go on these sunset cruises and stuff, it's just loaded with these beautiful Lucian women who are so positive, love to dance, love to laugh, have just such a joie de vivre. They share it with you. It has just been such a delight for me to meet these Caribbean people, but especially these Caribbean women. They're pretty phenomenal.
I like that. I never would have thought that. I like that. This definitely, like I said, you just have like 10x my desire to go to St. Lucia. And I know that the listeners out there are feeling the same. Like, find me a ticket, book the trip right now. Let's go. What is the best time to visit St. Lucia? Is there a better time?
You know, so it's so temperate here. And what's really interesting to me is that, you know, it's actually more about what's the better time to travel away from home when you're in North America. So what we're seeing lately a lot of is it's really hot in the summer in Texas and in Florida. So people are coming to St. Lucia because it's actually cooler here where it's the early 80s, you know, when it's like over 100 back home. Of course, you get the Canadians like me in the northeastern United States when it's really cold in the winter. That's the time you come because it's still that early 80s weather. It's very, very kind of consistently early 80s here, which is really nice. It gets humider, in like more humid in the summer and rainy season. If you come in rainy season, it's raining a couple of times a day. It sprinkles, you know, it's nothing crazy. I wouldn't let it deter you from coming. But like high season is very much, I always say, American Thanksgiving to Easter, you know, like that's high season, and that's more because of how it is in North America than it is here. But it's beautiful here most of the year round.
Yeah. You mentioned the rain. I thought about, I was in Jamaica and we had a beach party scheduled and it started raining and people were sad. And those of us who've been there before, like, just wait.
Just
and
give it
sure
a second.
Enough,
Yeah. It just blows over. You know, you learn to take your cues from the locals, right? Because like you'll see them, they'll just like slowly move like under a shelter or something. They're not panicked. They're definitely not going to run. They know it's going to pass, but they just move. So you just like move under a roof. It rains, and then everybody moves back out. You know, it's just part of the flow.
I love it. I love it because it does remind us, right, to just be present and just go with the flow. And you know, I know in Jamaica, it's soon come and what is it? No problems, right? Is there
no problem.
in St. Lucia that the locals use that's kind of in that same vein?
I'm sure there is. It doesn't readily come to mind, but yeah, they're like very relaxed people.
Yeah, that's your homework. To tell us that's your homework.
I love it. I'll look that up. That's a good idea. So they speak patois here, which is really interesting because the history of St. Lucia is actually that the country exchanged hands between the British and the French 14 times. It was owned 7 times by the French and then the British. And so even though it's a British Commonwealth and there's a lot of British influence, you still have the French influence as well. And that comes out in the Creole language. So the patois that they speak is actually French based. So it's harder to pick up on than some of those English Creoles.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually didn't know that. I knew the French
Yeah.
history, right, because some of the names and the towns and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there
Yeah.
was, the back and
They
forth
were just
with.
constantly being passed back and forth between the two. So there's really the influence of both.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Shay, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for sharing your love of St. Lucia with us. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you about visiting or about the properties that you're selling? Where can we find you?
I'm easy to find. I'm everywhere. My name is Shaylene Todd. I'm on Facebook. Just sashaying is my tag. I work for Cabot, which is an amazing golf company. And yeah, I'm here to help. Reach out over LinkedIn, wherever you can find me. My name is kind of unique, so it's not hard to find, and I'm happy to help. I do have a website, sashaywithme.com. You can check it out. Some of my travels. I love to write and take pictures, and those are all up there.
Nice. I can't wait. It's a great blog. Go check it out, everyone. It will help to kindle that wanderlust that all of us seem to have. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to connecting with you IRL. And for those of you out there listening, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to tune in to the Lawal Around the World podcast for our next travel Q&A. Until then, bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.